turn, let it go. He knew the shot was golden. Ran it out. And it was 10 in the pit. First 300 game of the tournament. Should that happen this evening, it'll be worth $25,000. ESPN, the Total Sports Network, in conjunction with the Professional Bowlers Association, tonight brings you the $120,000 Ebonite Firebolt Open. Tonight's telecast is being brought to you by Columbia 300. Gary Dickinson out of Burleson, Texas. The winner of that match will then move on to face Bob Learn Jr., who authored a 300 game this week. In the number 2 slot, Bill Knight Jr., and the number 1 player this week is rookie Mark McDowell. Good evening, everybody. I'm Denny Schreiner, and welcome. Next to me, Dale Eagle and Gary Dickinson. They bowled each other a few times in match play through the years.
Well, they are both 40 years old or better. You know, Eagles at that magic 40 number, and Dickinson's 43. They bowled each other. I bowled both these guys a number of times.
And both of these guys can strike under the pressure. Opening shot.
Eagle on lane 27.
Last night, position round game, Jim Stefanich was in the number 5 spot at that point. Dale Eagle trailed him by 23 pins and had to beat him to win the match. Struck out in the 9th and the 10th to close the door on Jim Stefanich.
And the interesting part about that was that Stefanich had started the game with 4 in a row. Eagle was behind the whole game until the final ball.
6'4" Gary Dickinson stretches out with his first offering, and we were all tied after the opening frame.
Both players playing right around the 8th or 9th board, Denny. And it appears, just sitting back and watching the players practice on 27 and 8 here, that 28 wants to finish a little bit more, and 27 just seems to hold a little bit more. In other words, it just doesn't quite drive as much on 27 as it will on 28, although the players are playing them both very similar.
Gary Dickinson out of Burleson, Texas, would like to take a 10-pin lead. Just sort of shredded the rack that time. 5-pin just took off, went dead left, and the 7 had no chance.
We'll get a chance to look at it here. Watch the 5-pin. The ball nicks the 5, sends it over against the wall. It goes up against the kick side and knocks it down.
That's the pro pin action.
Yeah, right, that's the pro pin action. Eagle, who's been striking for half an hour in practice, and see if he can continue it. And he didn't get the message across to knock it down. The messenger came across there, but it fell a little short.
Dale Eagle, now 40 years old, as Mike mentioned, has been a member of the PBA 22 years. So he joined when he was only 18. He's been very successful.
Cross lane at the 10th pin. And no problem.
In that 22 years, Dale Eagle, with earnings in excess of $280,000, a 2-time PBA champion, but needs a victory here tonight to become eligible once again for the Firestone Tournament of Champions.
The reason for that is that there's so many new champions winning that they take precedence. When you win a title in an individual year, you take precedence over someone who was 1-2.
Right back in there. Rock solid shot that time for Dale Eagle, who averaged 215.5 for 42 games this past week. On the year, averaging just a fraction better than 203, so he has had a few problems through the winter tour.
Yeah, 203 for a bowler of Dale's caliber is not up to his standards, that's for certain. Dickinson working on 2 in a row, trying to stretch it out to 3, leads by 10.
I chatted with Gary right before the match, and he said, boy, Dale Eagle is about as tough as they come in match play.
So is this guy, though.
Through the years, credited as one of the guys on the tour that's just outstanding in the clutch.
Watch how smooth he is. 5-step player, and he just glides to the line. He appeared to stick a little bit here, but it was after he let it go. He did stick just a little bit, a little hop there.
8 PBA titles to his credit, but it has been a while since he's won. 1983 BPAA U.S. Open, and anytime a player of his caliber goes 3 years without a victory, that's much too long a drought.
Oh, and a dead ball hold.
Held up, and another strike. Perfect through 4 frames. Gary Dickinson has looking for a double on the right-hand lane, lane 28.
And we might mention that in last night's position round, Dale was staring at a 4-bagger, was behind by 30, and came back to win. Just like that.
He is cool as a cucumber under the pressure. And he just bowled tremendously last night. As we mentioned, beat Jim Stefanich in that position round game to make the show.
Watch his swing. He has a bit of an unusual swing here as it comes back and seems to bounce out to the right a little bit there. But he comes through right here, trusts that swing out to the right, and the ball, well, you can't throw it any better than he threw that one.
And probably, Mike, not a harder worker on the tour on his game. He bowls 100 or more practice games every week.
He does sit-ups. He does things to keep himself physically in shape. He works hard to try and be a good pro out here. One more, a little soft. Just a little soft going through that, and the ball just snapped right through the...
Seemed to set it a little bit short, too, maybe, Mike. Didn't get that one out on the lane like he has in the past 3 or 4 shots.
Picks up another ball across lane at the 610. Has a spare. Keeps himself in the match.
Gary Dickinson, though, at this point leading by 22 and could extend the lead if he ends up with a 5-bagger here on lane 28.
Well, he gets a couple more, and these fans who are already behind him will start really yelling.
He seems to have a contingent here at Leilani Lanes tonight, and he's a long way from the Lone Star State. Obviously a very popular bowler through the years.
Won the Nagy Sportsmanship Award a couple of times. One more. Perfect.
Now that was Crunch City, Mike. Little doubt, if any, that all 10 would end up in the pit that time.
Well, maybe Dickinson's thinking 300 already. He's only 5 in a row.
Gary Dickinson actually was not going to bowl this week. He decided at the last moment that he was going to head up to Seattle and try his luck in 82. The last time he bowled in this tournament, he finished 5th, so he's had some success.
For the last 3 or 4 years, I bowled very little in the summer, and normally I've been taking off here in Seattle, but the last time I was here, I bowled very well, and I got my sponsor about 2 weeks ago, and really as late as last Wednesday, I wasn't going to bowl, and he talked me into it, so at the last minute, I decided to come.
Perfect shot that time. Execution, only the 10-pin just didn't cooperate.
And we see why it's so hard to throw 300 in the sport of bowling, because you can throw it just your ace shot, and it doesn't wind up with 10 in a pin, only 9.
Is there a bit of a letdown when that does happen, Mike? You have to really concentrate on the spare.
Not only at the spare, he hasn't got this match won yet.
Is Gary still shooting the spares with just one finger in the ball?
Yes.
And why is that, Mike?
He does that. He uses just his middle finger and takes his ring finger out to straighten the shot out so the ball doesn't get as many revolutions, and he can throw right straight at those spares. He's a very accurate player. He's had tremendous success shooting his spares that way.
And he is obviously an excellent spare shooter.
Eagle trailing by 31. Needs to get something going here. Knocks that 10-pin out on that half pocket hit. Just pretty reaction there.
If he were a boxer, he'd be a counter puncher, because we've seen him down time and again, and he just keeps coming back, and does the things that he has to do to win.
Well, right now, it's almost a must situation. We're in 7th frame. He's got to put some pressure on Dickinson. He has to strike here, in my opinion. We see the score right there. 31 pins the difference. Eagle working on a strike can cut it to 21 with a double.
Talk about coming back. Dale Eagle qualified in the number 24 spot this week for match play and moved all the way up to make the telecast. And he hit that right hit. Another strike, and he needed a strike as he shows the fist, and he is still in the hunt. We'll be back with more match number 1 right after this. Gary Dickinson leading by 21, and it's not a comfortable lead, Mike, at this stage, because Dale Eagle, I think, is starting to zero in.
And it's like you're ahead, you know, and it's a slippery rope almost a little bit. He's biting into that lead. Can he keep it up now or start over again and get another string going after that 10-pin stopping him? Oh, he sure did on that. Threw the frozen rope there, didn't he?
Michael, explain the frozen rope. I know Dick Weber used to be pretty good at that shot.
Well, we were talking about a slippery rope, and that one, as we see the score right there, that a frozen rope is simply a shot where he kind of drills it to the pocket. It doesn't hook much at all, and it's just a little extra speed, and just like you said, think of a frozen rope. It's pretty straight line right to the 1-2, 1-3 pocket.
Gary Dickinson averaging 237 on the TV pair during match play this week, so obviously he's enjoyed some success. That one's a little wide and not going to climb back up the hill, and Dickinson has thrown a washout on lane 27.
And we mentioned that 27 was just a little bit tighter than 28, and he just never got that ball up the hill. He gave it just a little bit too much room to the right, and it misses the head pin, cuts those pins out, leaves the 1-2, 4-10, the washout. He wants to go to the left of the head pin here, Denny, and send that head pin over into the 10. It's a tough shot. I'd say, though, that pros, the odds are about 2-1 in making it. Good chance. Perfect. Boy, that's clutch bowling there.
We mentioned the fact that Gary was such an accurate spare shooter, and here is an explanation as to why he does it.
Right over on the left side, just perfect. That head pin went plunk right into the 10, just perfect. But the lead is 21. Eagle right now can cut it to 11 with one more. He's working on a double. 8th frame action here. Very important shot for Eagle.
Last year earned only 10,800. This year a little better than 8,000. He would love to cash in here tonight.
Oh, he got away with one there.
Well, there is a bit of a break, and it's been an interesting couple of weeks for Dale Eagle, who just recently got married, and he said that's one of the keys to bowling well this week.
Well, I worked hard this week, and I practiced before the tournament, and I got married 2 weeks ago to a lovely lady named Penny. It was a surprise for me and her, and also I just try to stay loose and calm and make some quick changes, and I thought a little bit faster than I normally do, and my thinking was up to par, working hard.
And working hard is doing exactly what he's doing right now on a turkey, looking for a strike in the 9th.
Cut it to one pin with one here. And he gets the right hit again.
The Eagle is soaring at this point, Mike Derlin. He is ready to go to work in the 10th.
And watch the head pin, Dan. The head pin goes to the wall and gets the 4-5-7 very, very late. There's the 4-5-7 standing. And there's the 7 pin falling very late. Dickinson's, who's once over 30 pin lead, has been cut to 1.
We had a feeling this opening match would be close and down to the wire, and that's exactly the case.
Gave this a little room too. He doesn't make it. We see the difference between the two shots as Gary leaves the 2-8. Eagle throws a little bit more hook than Dickinson does, and Eagle sent those last 2 shots of his a little wide. They got back for the light tickler strike. Dickinson sent his wide. He left the washout, and now the difficult 2-8. If he makes this, he's down by 1 pin.
As solid as Gary Dickinson has been through the years as a touring professional, he has struggled a little on television at times. He's 31-37 overall in 44 appearances.
At the 2-8. Perfect.
The key now, obviously, for Gary Dickinson to take this one off the sheet in the 10th frame and could strike out for a possible 247.
And we have a definite potential of a tie. We see there that Dickinson has 197, the 8th spare working. If Dickinson would go strike spare, he'd finish with 237. If Eagle got up and got 9 on his first one, spared and struck, he would finish with 237. So anything's possible, but the bowler that performs in the 10th frame is probably going to become out the winner of this opening match. Up high, busts it down, leaves the 6-10. That's the overcorrection. Light the last 2 times. He didn't want to go light this time. He didn't trust it, and he just kind of steered it up to the head pin.
In talking with Gary before the match, he said, Denny, I've got a ball that hooks a little bit that I like and one that goes fairly straight. I said, which one are you going to use? He said, I think I'll probably go with a straight one because I feel a little more comfortable, and I wonder if he's thinking back at this point, wondering if he might have gone with a ball that hooked a little more. Covers up the spare. And now,
an Eagle is so deep in concentration, he doesn't know it's the 10th frame, and that's why he's up there now. He's just discovered that it's a 10th frame. And we were talking in the car coming over, and I said, you know, that Eagle had that ability to just put himself in his own little world and with that concentration, and he has that ability.
Gary Dickinson with a strike would shoot 235, which normally is good enough to win.
And it still may be good enough. We don't know. There's the light hit he was looking for.
Dickinson started with a 5-bagger, then left a solid 10 in the 6th, then struck again in the 7th, but struggled a bit in the 8th and the 9th, and did not strike on the first shot in the 10th. And so obviously he's given Dale Eagle a golden opportunity.
Eagle needs to fill 18 pins in the 10th frame in order to win this. Says it needs a marking count. Well, he only has 3 pins to play with, so it's not a whole lot. He's thinking strike. That's what Eagle's thinking. And there's that light hit again, the wall shot. He looks like Dick Weber out there.
The last 3 have been movers and shakers, and he does seem to have a little bit of area out there. Doesn't necessarily have to throw it flush to get a strike.
And that's always a nice feeling to a bowler. You have a lot of confidence when you feel, hey, I got that whole pocket. I got all the hits going. Eagle now just needs to stay behind the foul line and keep it on the lane. He's going to be in the 240s if he doesn't strike here, in the 250s if he does strike.
A very high-scoring opening game here at Leilani Lanes. Finals of the $120,000 Ebonite Firebolt Open.
And Eagle just keeps pounding him in there. And there's his wife, Penny.
Obviously pleased with the results of the opening match. She followed him around all week long like a hawk, watching each and every frame and rooting all the way. An eagle and a hawk? What do you think? I was waiting for your reaction.
I think that's for the birds.
Oh, gee, many Christmas. I just had a feeling you were going to say that. Dale Eagle with an outstanding opening game. Shakes him loose one more time and captures match number 1. The final score, Eagle 258 and Gary Dickinson 235. Don't forget, coming up next, bowling news. 24-year-old right-hander out of Erie, Pennsylvania opts to open up on lane 27.
And everyone else chose to finish on lane 27 or learn like 28 better. And the reason was because he was having a little trouble getting the ball to finish back hard on 27 for him.
Mike, I mentioned that Bob Learn Jr. is a home run hitter. He's not going to waste any time trying to throw strikes, and he might leave a few things other than a 10-pin here tonight.
Well, you don't know always where it's going. But what I was struck here is that Eagle bowling in this match is 40 years old. Learn is 24. We got 16 years difference, and it shows you just the variety of Eagle strikes in the sport of bowling and how it's not just a young man's game, that Eagle is still highly competitive at age 40. There's not a lot of sports where that happens.
Mike, how much of an edge do you rate Dale Eagle, having all the experience through the years of competing on the tour in a match like this?
Well, I would rate him to have an enormous advantage, which probably negates any chances that he has at all. But
I know one thing. If you strike, that's the whole key to victory on the PBA Tour.
Eagle trying for a double to take a quick lead. And fails to carry his first light hit. He's been carrying all of those. That time he got more of the 5 than the wall shots that he was carrying before, and he didn't strike. This time he gets up and the ball gets the 5, and the 5 slides in front of the 7. Weakly. See, he just didn't get the drive on that ball that he wanted to make those pins dance. Makes a 7 pin.
On the conversion, and so he has 20 in the first. Bob Learn Jr., who told me just prior to tonight's telecast that he was very nervous, and I imagine the mouth might be a little dry at this point, even after the first strike.
Well, I'll tell you, you want that when you're in this situation. What you're thinking is you want that double, and he can be thinking aggressively now, or he can be thinking negatively, thinking, well, don't pull it, don't throw it too wide. If he's thinking like that, then he's going to have trouble. He's thinking all right, though, I'll tell you.
He is a powerhouse. He will definitely cut it loose, and he did shoot a 300 this
Now watch
week.
at the bottom of the swing. He really lifts this ball. Whack, right there, out on the lane, not short at all. Travels out to about the 5th board, and then comes roaring back to the pocket, which is the 17th board.
It was reminiscent of the shots used to throw on the tour.
Yeah, sure. My ball acted just like that. Trying for 3 in a row. Light. Doesn't get the 7-pin. Sounds like that ball is rumbling just a little bit, doesn't it, Dan? It might be nicking the thumb hole, or maybe rolling over the label on the ball like Houston did last week. He sure made it work, didn't he?
Now, I watched Bob through almost the entire match play portion of this week's tournament and never heard the ball roll over the thumb hole. Why is he changing now?
Well, it may not be intentional. It's just sometimes under the pressure, it gets a little harder to get that thumb out of the ball clean. At the 7-pin, no problem.
A solid spare effort.
And there's our proprietor's family there. Mac Lowry's 4 daughters, and there's Mac Lowry himself. He's been hosting this tournament here. He's been the manager here for a number of years. We've had the tournament here 12 years in a row.
Seattle, one of the oldest stops on the summer tour. This is the 24th consecutive year that the pros have bowled in Seattle. That says a lot for itself. And as you mentioned, 12 here at Leilani Lanes. Dale Eagle trying to shake loose that 4-pin. And this television pair, interesting through the years, Mike Durbin. Back in 1976, Paul Caldwell captured the PBA National Championship here and threw a gutter ball in the process.
Well, the situation, I remember that very well, as I just missed the show that particular year. And he was bowling Dave Davis, and he got up in the 10th frame. He was working on a strike, a single strike, and if he struck, he would win the match. Well, he got nervous. He didn't hit his ankle or anything. He was playing out around the 7th point, and he just threw it right in the channel. But he got himself back together. That was the worst possible thing that could happen, and he struck for the spare, and then he struck to tie the match and wound up winning it in roll-off.
I don't know if I could do that. Had a chance to chat with Paul and Hall of Famer Wayne Zahn at the doubles in Las Vegas a couple of weeks ago. Both guys look great, and both guys look forward to bowling in Tucson in a couple of weeks.
Well, that's their home territory.
Dale Eagle back on course with a big strike on lane 27 in the 4th, and it looks like he's beginning to get lined up once again. He micro semi-spinner. Bob learned a study in concentration. He'd like another strike, and this one a little bit too high. And so often after a break in the action, when you get a chance to sit down, you don't make a good shot when you come out of the commercial.
Well, he was pacing around. Bob looks uptight. He just looks nervous. He needs just to get himself going, to get a couple strikes here, just to loosen up, even though he's ahead in the match.
Yearly earnings, just a fraction more than $2,000 in 1986, and he bowled basically the entire winter tour, so it's not been a good 86, but you could recoup a lot of that with a victory here this evening.
Well, you can if you're single, and he's single, so.
That's one of the big keys as well, huh?
He needs to just loosen up, get that ball off his hand a little bit cleaner. He's ahead in the match by about 8 pins.
Bowled brilliantly last night. Won his last 5 matches to secure his position on the telecast this evening. He is more than capable.
His best shot of the match right there.
Seemed to be much more in control of what he wanted to accomplish that time, Mike. Very solid shot.
Very solid. He got it out wide, got around the ball very nicely that time, and it finished strong. Eagle, though, can take the lead with a double on lane 28. And Eagle right now, I look at him, he just seems to exude confidence. I just think that he feels that he's going to win. That's why. He knows that he's got a good ball reaction. He knows he's throwing it well. And he knows that the players he's competing against are inexperienced. And watch his arm swing. Comes back here. A little bit of an unusual move at the top of that swing. Kind of bounces out, but he brings it back in close to his ankle at the finish. Right over about that 8th board.
Where he has been playing most of the week here at Leilani Lanes.
All he's done is change balls. We see the scoreboard there. Eagle working on a double, head by 2, can increase it to 12 with 1 more on lane 27. Knocks that 10-pin out of there. And I might comment, I talked about him changing balls. As we see, watch the 6-pin, second from the right. As it goes to the sideboard, comes back and just nudges out the 10. And again, to comment further on why he changes balls, is sometimes the lanes change from morning to night. You want to get a different reaction, and a different bowling ball gives you that reaction. And Eagle's very intelligent in making those kind of adjustments. Learn to stay in the match. Pretty shot. Boy, that shows me a little something about his character there.
Bob Learn Jr., Mike Durbin, averaged 263 on the television pair this week, a 266 game and a 260, so he's been red hot on this pair.
And we see him holding the ball down with one hand. His good friend Wayne Webb does this. Carmen Zalfino initiated this style, pushes it out, kind of just walks away. And watch at the finish how he lifts that ball out on the lanes and snaps that follow through. Nice shot. Can take the lead back again with one more. And, oh, he threw it super, left a solid 10. Boy, young player like that responded to the challenge, and it just wasn't his fault. And look at the look on his face there. But he's got to get himself together. It's only 3 pins that he's down. If he makes this 10 pin, no giveaways here.
Both matches have been very, very close. Outstanding bowling thus far. And Learn with a nice cross alley spare is hanging tough right now in game number 2. Back with a conclusion right after this message. Bowls on the national telecast. Now, it's been 2 years since Dale Eagle has made a show, and yet tonight he's responded beautifully.
It's amazing, you know, he hasn't been in this situation over 2 years. You can react a number of different ways. He could be pressing, but he's relaxed and confident. It's written all over his body English. Right over that target. Boy, I'll tell you, he's just splashing that target every time.
Opened up this evening's festivities with a beautiful 258-235 victory over Gary Dickinson, who isn't the easiest guy in the world to beat. And Dale Eagle now leading by 13, and would love to see a 5-bagger extended through the 8th frame.
And he had 10 out of 12 strikes in the opening match. He's got 5 out of 7 here in the second match. He's been throwing a lot of strikes.
Hasn't missed the pocket, has he?
Yeah, I think he's missed it once. I think he went a little high one time in the first match against Dickinson.
Yeah, left the 6-10.
Yes.
Yeah, broke it up.
Head by 13, can increase it to 23. Wow!
Dale Eagle is an opportunist, and he is showing us that right now as he extends the lead to 23 pins. But now the youngster, Bob Learn Jr., you call him a youngster at 24, but he's been a member 5 years now, and he's bowled on the national tour, so he's an experienced young guy.
He's in a bad position right now. He's got to strike. Must strike. And does. Right now, though, the 9th frame, Denny, is going to be the most important frame for Bob Learn Jr. this week. Because if he can strike in the 9th frame, he is still potential 246. So he can still win this match. But if he doesn't strike here, he's not going to catch Dale Eagle.
Bob was under a lot of pressure this week financially, was out on his own money this summer, and told me that if he hadn't made the finals this week, he was going to have to pack it up and go home. So obviously now, no matter where he finishes, he'll bowl the rest of the summer tour.
To stay in the match. Light. And carry. He didn't throw that one as well as he did the one in the 7th frame, but that one struck.
Never say die. An Eagles lead now trimmed to just 13 pins. But Dale Eagle, as Mike just alluded to, with 10 strikes in the first game and a bushel basket full here in game number 2, is obviously well lined up on both lanes, 27 and 28.
And he's striking. I mean, he's...
Yeah, it's one thing to hit the pocket. It's another to knock them all down.
For 6 in a row. Oh! He's just throwing each one better and better and better.
You've won PBA titles, Mike Durbin, from every conceivable position. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. How difficult is it for you mentally to go from the number 5 spot all the way to that title match?
Once you've got a reaction like Dale Eagle has, it's fun. I mean, you just can't wait to get up there for each shot. You're just so confident that you can defeat no matter who they put against you, because everything's going your way. You get that momentum built, and it's hard to stop you.
Should Dale Eagle strike out in the 10th, a game of 269.
He hasn't won the match yet. still hasn't. He still hasn't, but he's in awful good shape. Leaves the swishing 7. The second one he's left. He left one in the second frame. He needs to convert this spare, get 9 pins on the fill ball, and he's going to win his second match and go on to face Bill Knight Jr.
Which is easier said than done.
Cross lane at the 7. Should present no problem. It doesn't.
When you talk about those cross lane spares to the left side, that's what you'll be talking about in the bowling tip this evening.
That's right.
How to make them all right. You've probably never missed one on the left side, did
Oh,
you?
of course not. Never. And Eagle picked up the wrong ball. He's got 2 of them out there.
Is it easy to get confused when you're that pumped up?
I've seen players do it. I've seen them do it.
Did you ever pick up somebody else's ball, Mike?
No. I have unique pitches, and so needs a strike, or 9 pins he needs here to shut him out. Go high. Oh, just enough. It's one thing to be good. It's another thing to be good and lucky. That could have had anything.
Well, there's the fist in the air. Dale Eagle realizing that 9 is enough to shut the door on Bob Learn.
We see it right through the heart of the pins. He's got 7 now. Now here comes a pin off the wall, knocks out the 10. That's a winner.
Has to be a little bit frustrating for Bob Learn to have bowled as well as he has. A crucial
10-pin in the 7th frame. Really his demise this evening. He just bowled outstanding and just got outgunned.
Well, and what's even more frustrating, Denny, is Bob Learn had a winning shot. If he gets by this game, he could have won the tournament. He could have definitely won the tournament. If he strikes out here, he finishes at 246, and he could have 9 strikes. Eagle wound up with, 7? So... one more. Oh. That 10-pin he left back in the 7th frame, the big shot.
You would think that 246 would be more than enough to advance in the championship finals. It's just not good enough here tonight.
And it's interesting. Eagle has not had any cakewalks. They've had 230, 240 shot at him, and he's won both matches. One more for 246. And 9 strikes, but it's not enough.
Bob Learn will take home a check for $7,000, but the final score, Dale Eagle 247, Bob Learn Jr. 246. Back with more right after this.
Eagle with the hot hand thus far, averaging 252 for the first 2 games here in the championship finals.
Not a bad average, is it?
There's nowhere else to go but up, I guess, huh?
I tell you what, it's hard to maintain those 250 averages. Somehow the pins just don't want to cooperate to keep knocking him down at that pace.
His opponents have averaged better than 240.
Hasn't been good enough. And that is the big reason why. Flush in the 1-3 pocket, and Dale Eagle a bit pleased, I think, with a little hold area, the fallback shot there on 27.
That ball definitely held for him. He didn't think that ball was going to stay in the 1-3 pocket, but he had good speed on it, and the ball held pocket. Bill Knight, who admitted before the show that he was very nervous, we'll see how he can respond and overcome that nervousness.
The pride of Gallup, New Mexico.
I'll tell you, these guys, they say they're nervous, they just come out throwing strikes.
Nerves of steel. Last night, Bill told me that if he got 4 hours sleep, that was stretching it. He was dreaming of this very moment. The first shot on national television to strike, well, that's what it's all about. And he struck all week long. Look at his average on the television pair, 236.5, solid.
It would be a big boost to his morale to be able to double right here. Light. Breaks it down, only the 5-pin. You know, not too bad. He just gave it too much room. It's that I don't want to go high type shot. Has an easy spare, but against Eagle, spares aren't going to win tonight, I don't think.
Mike, do you remember what went through your mind when you first bowled on national television?
Oh, I sure do. I bowled
it was
Nelson,
pure shock, wasn't it?
I bowled Nelson Burton Jr. He's playing one lane, the first arrow, the other the 4th arrow, and he started with 6 in a row at me.
Oh, boy, I'll bet that was a treat. Did you win?
No, I lost by about 80.
Yeah, but you remembered it. That's the important thing. A spare up in the second frame for Billy Knight Jr. Dale Eagle will right himself and get set here on lane 28. He has been a striking machine here at Leilani Lanes this evening.
Ironically, the only other time I bowled Nelson Burton Jr. in my career, I bowled him in Tucson in 1982, I think it was. He was the leader of the tournament and got wrapped to death, and I edged him out for the title.
Sweet revenge.
This guy just got, I'll tell you, you talk about 300s, he's got a double. The way he's been striking, he's possible anything.
His concentration level, would you say, Mike, that that's probably his strongest asset?
Yeah, I would think that's, plus his willingness to work hard. Dale is just not afraid to get out there and practice. He says he practices 100 games a week, and he does. That's not just a figure he puts down there on the paper. This guy is always practicing. And again, he picked up the wrong ball.
Wonder if he's been doing that all night long.
Oh, yeah, switching balls.
When you're as hot as he is right now, you could probably strike with just about anything.
Let's see if that disturbs his concentration a little bit there.
Dale Eagle, before the telecast this evening, practiced for about a half hour, 45 minutes at the other end of the bowling center just to get loose.
For 3. No way. And he definitely just didn't throw that ball the same way he's been throwing all the others. He just stared at the swing, wasn't as loose. His thinking process was not as good on that shot. As he comes through here, he kind of just shovels it. He doesn't go through it. He just kind of pushes it out there. And it was definitely left to target, started hooking. It was high right away. 3-6-10. You know, he could have left that in the 10th frame against Bob Learn real easy. At the spare. And just enough.
Up on his toes, but managed to convert the 3-pin spare and leads by 7 now as Billy Knight Jr., who struck on his opening shot on 28, would really enjoy another strike here at this point, just to right himself, get settled a little bit.
Eagle showed that he's human. He's not a machine out there. Billy coming in light and blows him out of there. Big shot coming up for him now, confidence-wise. He was light the first time on this left lane. He picked a finish on this left lane. He knows the left lane holds a little bit more. A double right now, and he can go into that commercial break with a 3-pin lead.
Billy Knight Jr. capable of shooting big numbers. As a matter of fact, he put together the biggest block of the tournament, averaging 242, and his father watched him all week long, and his mom got a chance to fly in for the show this evening.
It's in the pocket. Oh, just not enough lift with the fingers. Left that weak 10.
In averaging 242 in round number 5, Mike, he also won 7 of 8 matches, won 12 of 16 on Tuesday, and that's really what put him in the number 2 slot here this week.
He says, PBA Tour, it's hard, says who?
Guess what? This is his first, it was his first finals appearance, top
first,
24.
First time in the top 24. Uh-oh.
Oh, my. There is a chink in the armor as Knight opens up, and Dale Eagle, we'll see if he can. Dale Eagle, who opened the semifinal match with a double, and then really threw probably his worst shot of the night in the 3rd frame.
But he's up by 19 in total command, really, as early as the 4th frame. Left the soft 10. Ball just didn't drive the way it has been.
Mike, psychologically, after Billy Knight missed the 1-pin spare in the 4th, was Dale Eagle really trying to put the clamp on him and maybe strike in that frame?
That's the aggressive attitude of any champion on the PBA Tour. When your opponent's down, you can't have any mercy. You want to stomp on him right then and there. It's nothing personal. It's just the fact that you're out there trying to win those matches, to win the tournament, to win dollars.
Dale Eagle bowling now out of Lake Havasu City, Arizona. 5 foot 10 inches tall, 175 pounds. And as Mike mentioned, I think in game number 1, in excellent physical condition.
Eagle trying for another strike in the 5th frame here. A little more aggressive on that shot. Nice lift. Eagle suffering perhaps just a slight mental letdown in the third and fourth frames there. Bill Knight rather here, is just nervous. Maybe he'll relax a little bit now that the worst has happened and he's had that open frame.
Normally after that first big mistake, you sort of breathe a little bit and say, okay, that's my bad shot. Now let's go back to work here and get things started. There you see Bill Knight Jr.'s earnings. And regardless of what happens in this match as he strikes on lane 28, he'll win more this evening than he has in his PBA career.
And I find it interesting again, as you see so many times, the guy picks to finish on the one lane and he cannot get a strike on the lane that he picked to finish on.
When you speak of picking a lane to finish on, obviously that's the lane in practice you feel you have the best chance to strike on.
Right, and I should mention that the player who finished higher in the standings has that option. Bill Knight qualified second here, so he gets to choose the lane that he wants to finish on. Needs a double here to get back in the match. And has it. Hey, he threw two great shots there.
Billy Knight Jr. averaging 221 for the entire week, but when you look at another stat, the fact that he's averaged only 198 on the national tour this year, it sort of points out the fact that he has had trouble on the tour.
Well, he's a young player, and maybe he's...
It's all a learning process.
Right, he's been learning how to bowl on the PBA tour, working on his game, and starting to develop. Anybody who can average 221 on any PBA condition has got some talent. Eagle up by 8. 6th frame action, trying to increase it to 18. Gave it room. And it came back harder. We're getting an effect here that is happening on lane 28 here, that he threw it a little wide and the ball's driving back even harder. It could be caused by the lights. So we see the ball drive up here and leave the 4-pin.
Explain that. What do you mean by the lights, Mike? You mean the lanes are beginning to dry out a little more?
Yes, I think it could be either from the lights that we use for the television show here, or it could be just from the fact that the bowlers are bowling a lot in that one area of the lane, causing it to dry out a little bit.
Dale Eagle has just bowled superbly here this evening. Beat Gary Dickinson in the opening game, 258-235. Bounced right back and edged Bob Learn Jr., 247-246. And he finds himself leading by 8 as he lines up on the left-hand lane in the 7th frame, but Billy Knight Jr. is working on a double.
And going to a lane that he hasn't missed.
Better shot. And I was going to say a better reaction, except for a wiggling 8-pin that decided not to become part of the stack.
And I think we're going to see the ball hits the 8-pin here. It chops the 5 off the 8. No, it was the 5-pin that nicked that 8-pin and did knock it over.
The game is tough enough, Mike. When you throw it like that, you've got to find an X, and Dale Eagle will just have to sit down and come back the next time on lane 27 and throw the same shot back with the conclusion right after this.
Right now, Billy Knight is throwing probably his most important shot of the match right now. He's down by 7, can take the lead. We've had the commercial break. He's had a couple minutes to think about this shot. We'll see how he throws it. Hold it. And left only the 4-pin. It could have been worse. He didn't throw it well, but he threw it hard. At least he kept good speed on the ball and kept it in the 1-3 pocket.
Looked like he realized that he yanked that a little bit right from the get-go.
Watch him here. He doesn't get out of the thumb clean. Ball kind of bounces out here, and it's left of target, and he just kind of just spit it off his hand. And the ball, because he didn't get off it clean, at least held the pocket.
Knocks down the 4-pin, though, and covers the spare. We'll try and regroup and strike on the left-hand lane. As I mentioned, the pride of Gallup, New Mexico. And I talked to Billy right before the show tonight. I said, well, did you talk to anybody back there? He said, yeah, I think all 14,000 in Gallup will be watching this evening. We do have ESPN. We do have cable out where we live.
Threw a much better shot at the spare. Let's see if he can relax now and make a good shot here in the 8th frame on lane 27. Light. Oh, could have carried and it didn't.
Gave it a little bit of room, but a stubborn 7 stood up. Bill's dad owns a bowling center. I might mention the only bowling center in Gallup, New Mexico, and that's where obviously he grew up, and, learned to bowl, and very well indeed. also mentioned that he is going to bowl the first 6 for sure on the summer tour, and should he win, obviously he would continue to bowl, because when you've got it going out here, you don't want to go home.
Eagle now has been throwing every ball in the pocket except for one, where he left the 3-6-10. Back up on lane 28, 8th frame action. 9 pins of difference still. To use the old cliche, anybody's game.
Dale has also been in a position, Mike, where he's been ahead in every match, and that's kind of a secure feeling from time to time. It's sort of better than coming from behind.
It's a confident feeling, right?
You always feel like you're one step ahead of the opponent. And the 10-pin.
And Dale is getting what we call here, Dan, an overreaction. He actually got that ball in a little bit. The oil has carried down the lane, and that ball held. You saw him move his hand. That ball did what he has fell back. Now watch him here. He gets this ball closer to the second arrow. It hit just about on the second arrow. The last one he got out over the 8th board, and the ball kind of fades right here and hits weakly. Barely got the 5-pin out.
Might this be a time, Mike, where Dale Eagle would consider throwing the other ball that he's got maybe on the right-hand lane? Because you said right now he is getting an overreaction, and he can ill afford not to keep striking.
At this point in the match, I think he's assessing his opponent and assessing the game situation. He's still ahead by 8 pins. He knows his opponent still is nervous, and he's hitting the pocket. I think he's going to stick with what he's doing and hope, you know, that he can just have enough to win this match.
In match play throughout this tournament, Dale Eagle defeated Billy Knight. Oh, no, I should say he lost to him. 267 to 181. So the psychological advantage maybe with Bill Knight.
Real close match there.
Yeah.
Nice
Dale
action.
in trouble in that match. Seems to be moving a little bit left with the target to try and keep that ball holding a little bit rather than hooking it more. Is that a decision that you have to make too, Mike, to maybe play tighter as opposed to swinging the ball a little bit?
Generally, the way it goes is a player who throws the ball a little bit straighter likes the tighter angle rather than trying to swing it. A big hooker like Bob Learn we just have on would probably choose to move a little left, keep the target the same as swing it, where the straighter player will move left with both the feet and the target. Big shot here now for Knight. 9th frame. Clean release. Oh, it's just a bad ram. Oh, a solid 10. He threw that ball pretty.
There are nights, Mike, when not only do you bowl well, but your opponent, when he makes good shots, does not strike, and sometimes you win more matches sitting on the bench than you do throwing strikes, don't you?
Sometimes it's out of your control, and it's out of Eagle's control right now on that situation. He got a good break with Knight leaving the 10-pin. He has this one. He's still in the match, though.
A possible 205 for Bill Knight Jr. should he strike out in the 10th. Dale Eagle, on the other hand, if he would throw a turkey in the 10th, 11th, and 12th, could shoot 224, down some from his 252 average, but if he wins, successful nonetheless.
Knight needs this first one desperately. Light, and gets that light hit, the one he did not carry in the 8th frame. That keeps him in the match, and that makes Eagle mark no matter what. 7 pins, the last one to go. Let's see what hits it. The head pin goes to the wall. You see it. It comes back. It hits the 4, and the head pin turns and got both the 4 and the 7.
That pin action is unbelievable. And the pros put those fingers in the balls, and the equipment is so good these days that the reaction is unbelievable when they get the pins.
Take the lead. Light again, and this time he doesn't get the reaction. Leaves the 5-7. What he's going to have to do here is go for 1 to finish with 194. The ball deflects off here. Watch it deflect to the right, and the head pin goes to the wall. The ball doesn't get the 5. 4, 5, 7 standing there, and instead of getting them all, 2 of them stand.
Looks like he's going for the conversion.
Oh, bad mistake there. Although it's still enough. He makes him mark. If Eagle would open, Eagle would finish with 192 if he would open in this. So in that situation, it wasn't a bad. Eagle, who has not had an open frame yet, needs only to mark here to move on to the title match.
He has been as solid as a rock, with the exception of a couple of shots. Has already won 2 matches and is looking to notch number 3. Gives it plenty of room, and it comes back, and it is a right, Mike Durbin. He has just delivered in the clutch as his new wife looks on and very, very happy with what's transpired thus far this evening.
And brings to mind that final game last night where he got a strike in the 9th and all 3 in the 10th to edge out Jim Stefanich, and that could mean his 3rd title to himself and back in the Tournament of Champions, as he has to get by Mark McDowell in the next match.
One thing is for sure, somebody will be headed to the Firestone, whether it's McDowell or Dale Eagle.
Somebody that wasn't there last year, right?
Mike, in the fill situation now for Dale Eagle. Is he looking around a little bit, maybe making some minor adjustments with this shot, considering it doesn't make any difference? Might he be looking for a different line for the final game?
He may have found just an intangible thing with those first 2 strikes in the 10th frame. Just something, and maybe how he held the ball or how he positioned it. He is maybe making a minor move with his feet here as an experiment on the 12th shot.
Whatever he did, it was correct, because he strikes out in the 10th. The final score, 224-193. Mark McDowell is coming up next. He's the top seed. To the championship finals and have to rearrange your line. Did it happen often?
I didn't lead that many, Dan.
Oh, you were evading the question, but I'll let you get away with it at this point. This is the title match, though, for $18,000 and a trip back to the Firestone Tournament of Champions for Dale Eagle, a first-time try for the rookie Mark McDowell.
Well, I'll tell you what, I really like his attitude, though. I mean, to come out and change at this point shows that he really has an open mind and that he's going to be a winner, if not now, some other time. And Eagle, maybe thinking about Firestone a little bit there, pulled it right to the nose.
Mike,
He's only the 3-6.
Explain the difference, pressure-wise, from winning, say, a semifinal match and then having to stand up in the title match.
Well, you're seeking to get to that level all the way along. In the other matches, suddenly now he's where he wants to be in that title match. And that's not the goal, Dan. The goal is to win the tournament. And kicks it over.
Little body English helping Dale Eagle. And Dale Eagle really has just performed admirably here this evening. A guy who qualified 24th in match play and climbed the ladder all the way up to the number 5 spot, and then has continued to bowl his way right to the title match. Opening shot from Mark McDowell. He'd like to make it a good one. And that's not the way you want to start with a 2-8 to have to pick up.
Well, he just kind of jerked that follow-through going up there. Mark has a very smooth approach, and he's pretty square as he gets to the line, but that one he just kind of shot it off his hand. Didn't get the good rotation, the good clean release with the fingers lifting the ball. Like you say, it's a tough spare to open up with the 2-8, especially when you throw a lot of hook like he does.
This is Mark's 2nd appearance in a championship round. He made the finals of the King Louis Open in Overland Park, Kansas this past winter.
Shot it off his strike line and missed it. Opened right up, and just worst thing can happen right away. Open up with a missed spare.
A young player, a very talented player, an outstanding collegiate career. Bowled for 3.5 years at West Texas State, and they have put together one of the finest bowling programs in the country.
He was 2nd team All-American down there.
Yep, 2 times. Finds himself in a bit of a bind now at the professional level, though.
Sends it way wide, but gets it back. Woo!
He has played aggressively all week long. Took over the lead last night about midway through the final 8 games of play and just never relinquished it.
See, that ball got out to about the 3rd board. Comes back light, and those pins didn't have a chance. There's his reaction. Trying to get that adrenaline going. Eagle going down and in. That's where he's been all night long, right in that 1-3 pocket.
Dale Eagle's last victory on the tour came back in 1984, the Fairlanes Open in Baltimore.
That was a very low-scoring tournament. He defeated Art Trask there to win that title, and he just outlasted everyone else. He made his spares and kept the ball close to the pocket. Since then, though, he's fallen on lean times. Up by 11. He didn't get out of the ball as clean. It was a good shot, but it was not a great shot. And the pins told him that reaction. He got the 5 over in front of that 7. It could have struck. Watch him as he lets it go, and he just doesn't get the lift here. It's imperceptible there. At the 7 pin. Hits it on the left.
Oh, plenty of room to spare. Dale Eagle averaging 243, Mike, for the first 3 games here on the championship pair, and that's a winning performance.
24 strikes. Mark McDowell, though, needs to strike here to get himself right back in this match. Taking a little extra time. He needs to keep his speed up, Dan. If he gets soft the way he's hooking the ball, he's going to have a combination up there.
McDowell, the top average getter this week, better than 223 per game. Makes the adjustment.
Oh, I don't believe it. A solid 9. He threw that ball too good. Unreal. That ball was solid. It wasn't even high. Watch it. We're going to get a great shot of it here from our ground floor camera. He really gets a... Watch that ball rev up. It looks like Gant's ball from the right. Comes in there solid in the 1-3 pocket, and the 9 pin didn't even wiggle. Throws it straight at the spare. Should have thrown it straight at that 2-8, I think, instead of trying to hook it at it.
Mark McDowell, 24 years of age, 5'8", 160 pounds, averaged 245 this week on the TV pair in games of 247 and also 243.
You get a great shot of him. Watch his left arm out. He'll come out here, squaring himself up here. Heading right on the target. The follow through comes straight up. That's a pretty picture there at the finish. That's a good finish position.
Very strong player indeed.
Really lifted this one. Just didn't make it back. Left lane again, we said hangs a little bit more in that right lane. Leaves the 2-5 and falls further behind.
The key at this point, Mike, for McDowell, just to make the spare and gather his wits and get ready for the 5th frame.
Right. Interesting, he shot the 2-8 off his strike line, but he's moving to the extreme left to shoot the 2-5. Straight at it, no hook. Makes the spare easily.
Breathe a little easier after that shot. He trails by 13, but this one is far from over. Back. Dale Eagle, averaging 8 strikes per game through his first 3 matches, has struck only once here in 3 frames here in the title match. Is he getting tired, Mike? Worn down a little bit?
No, I don't think he's tired at all. Not in as good a shape as he's in. Boy, he's knocking that weak 10 out of there every time.
He is slapping that 10 pin out, and that is a big key. When you throw a half-hit shot, Mike, and you can carry the 10, why, you can go anywhere from there.
Oh, it just does anything to your confidence. It used to be that the light hit, when you could blow the 5, was this hit that really spurred on your confidence. Anymore with the players, I think it's that half pocket hit. When they can carry that, boy, they know they got a winning shot.
Why does it happen? What's the difference between a guy who carries the half hit and a guy who doesn't?
And the difference generally is that the half hit will tell you how you got out of that ball, whether you got out of that clean and got good lift and rotation on that ball, or whether it was just a little drag on your thumb.
Dale Eagle leads by 13. Could make it 23 here with a double in the 5th. What a reaction from Dale Eagle, who realizes all of a sudden that this title is well within his grasp.
Solid in the 1-3 pocket. The ball just held. It was the frozen rope that we talked. Look at those eyes. Look at them.
That was the Hoover treatment there. Just sweep him straight back.
I'm waiting for the Eagle treatment when he gives us his Eagle mating call.
Could happen. Could happen if he does indeed win this title.
Mark McDowell, who's been fishing now, has to start stringing strikes.
Get in there, Mark!
And that ball was higher than the solid 9.
And McDowell says, boy, I'm sure glad the 9 pin decided not to stand up this time around.
It could have. I tell you, the ball was driving so hard at the finish. If he eases up on that speed 1 iota, he's going to be staring at 5.
Mark McDowell needs a double, and he needs it desperately here. Could trim the lead to 13. Should he strike here on lane 27? He is currently 12th on the PBA Tour in average, with an average of better than 211 per game.
Here it comes. And he knocks out that half pocket in.
He just ripped the finger holes right out of that shot. And talk about carrying the half 10. Well, there was no doubt in anybody's mind.
Well, there was in mine. I didn't know whether it was going to stand or not.
I knew it all the time. Of course, I used to hook it a little more than you probably have.
When you throw the ball like Eagle and I do, you're used to staring at a lot of weak 10s. Eagle taking a little extra time here. He knows that McDowell maybe has found the range now. He can't afford to stop striking.
3 previous matches have been outstanding, and this one obviously rising to the occasion as well. Another run-out strike for Dale Eagle, who is praying as he crosses lanes for yet another strike, perhaps on the left-hand lane.
There we see the score. Eagle increases that lead back up to 23, can send it to 33 with one more here.
I think maybe he feels that Leilani Lanes may owe him one here.
And
Back in 1978, he and Jay Robinson led the doubles here and lost on the television show to Mike Berlin and Jimmy Certain. And so I have a feeling at this point he would love to come back, win this title, but I think he's a little too pumped up, sat down, got himself a breath of fresh air there.
Well, yeah, what's happening is the adrenaline is pumping so hard right now that his heartbeat is going so fast that he has to mentally get control of himself and try and just say, hey, calm down. You can't get too excited yet. You've got to strike again here.
Could make it a 4-bagger. Here in the 7th, he leads by 23.
Threw it well. Ooh, it doesn't carry the light hit. The ball just wouldn't quite finish, but that gives Mark McDowell life here. If McDowell can strike a couple of times, and McDowell's studying the rack. And personally, if I were bowling, I wouldn't shoot the rack. I'm sitting right behind it, and I would re-rack if I were Mark McDowell. Of course, I don't throw his ball either, so.
Maybe we'll get a chance to look at the rack on 28 as Dale Eagle prepares to shoot the cross alley spare at the 7-pin that wiggled for a moment but just would not fall. So Eagle spares up, has 139 now through 6 with a spare up in the 7th. And why, Mike Durbin, would you not shoot at 28 the rack?
Well, I'm sitting at a slightly different angle than we see there on the screen, and the 5-pin just looks a freckle off spot to the left of me, and I get paranoid on things like that, and I say, nope, I'm going to, you know, if I have 3 re-racks coming, I'll take it. I'll take one right there. This is a big shot here.
Have not seen a re-rack here tonight, have we?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Maybe that's indicative of things to come. The younger players don't re-rack as much.
Hey, the way they strike, they don't have to. McDowell in a must-strike situation. Lets it fly.
And knocks that 10-pin out of there. Here he comes.
A very gutsy performer, an outstanding athlete. As a matter of fact, his freshman year walked on as a kicker and made the University of Wisconsin's football team. And in practice, kicked a couple of 55-yard field goals. In a game, kicked a 48-yarder and still decided that bowling was his game and transferred to West Texas State. And you know that those field goal kickers have just ice running through their veins.
Well, it must have been a soccer-style kicker, you think?
I would think he probably was. Got tremendous leg action, though. Very strong player. Not very tall, but very solidly built.
Down by 12, can cut it to 2 with one more. This the lane's been giving him trouble. Zips it up. Ooh, pretty shot. And a little reaction from McDowell here.
He's talking to lane 27. He's saying, hey, that's the best shot I've thrown all night long, and don't dare stand up.
Watch this ball knock out that 10-pin. 6-pin goes to the wall, doesn't even hesitate. And McDowell has a fist. Look at his reaction here. And I think this is a little bit for the lane and a little bit for Eagle, because Eagle's been doing this. So there's a little psych job going on.
A lot riding on this one tonight. $18,000 to the winner and a trip to Akron, Ohio. Firestone Tournament of Champions. Dale Eagle will try and answer back, and he does. Oh my, we've got a gunfight here.
And at Firestone, you can win $50,000. So there's a lot riding here. 2 pins with 2 frames to go.
Well, you would know about the Firestone. You won it 3 times.
Well, I was blessed there. That's we see the scoreboard there. McDowell 127 in the 6th with a double working. Eagle 159 in the 7th with a strike. If both players would go all the way, if my addition is right here, Eagle would win 249 to 247.
I don't know about you, Mike, but I'm starting to get a little nervous.
9th frame. It's about time to start getting nervous. Eagle's a little nervous too.
Yep, steps back off the approach.
He did that in the 7th frame and left the 7-pin.
It's a little air on the right hand just to make sure that the grip is proper. You don't want to lose a shot right at this point with the title on the line.
Oh, he had the 410 standing for a second. And he aimed that shot. He knew it.
Immediately when that ball left his hand, he was praying for maybe just the 4-pin, and he got a break there.
You see it go high here, and the 410 is standing for a second. And what I want to point out here is you see what pressure does. We saw Dale Eagle perform in the 10th frame under enormous pressure last night and come through in flying colors. And the pressure is so great right then that he was unable to respond to it like he wanted to.
That's when you talk about maybe just squeezing it just a little bit, trying to hang on to that ball to make sure that you make the perfect shot and you don't do what's natural.
It's just hard under that kind of intense pressure. Let's see how the rookie, 24 years old, Mark McDowell here is, responds to the same kind of pressure.
And this is the first time he has ever bowled for a PBA title.
To take the lead in the 9th frame.
He is pumping that ball away a little bit.
Here it comes. The 10-pin. So we have 3-pin difference if he makes the 10-pin going into the 10th frame. Well, he threw it well. It just didn't knock out that weak 10. Came in behind the pocket somewhat. Big spare here. He cannot afford any mistakes. And he knows it.
Mark McDowell, one of the leading candidates to claim PBA Rookie of the Year honors. Made 3 straight top 24 finals this past winter. Has already won better than $19,000 this year.
Straight, see how he straightens that ball out. Great tip for our younger players. If they're throwing that big hook, straighten it out at those spares. He's down by 3, 179 to 176. Both players working on spares. It's the bowler that can perform in the 10th frame that's going to win. And if they both do, then Eagle will win, but we'll see.
It always seems to come down to the 10th frame here on the tour, Mike. And when you live with that, it's no different than anything else. They're used to that kind of pressure.
I never did get used to it, I'll tell you.
Well, you did all right. You won 14 times. You had to do something right along the way.
Yeah, but I didn't win too many of them in the 10th frame, I'll tell you. Oh, he really gave that one away. And left the 10-pin again, and it's in Eagle's hands. He just couldn't get that one off his hand, but it came back. He got it to the pocket.
Looked to me, Mike, as if Mark made 2 very good shots in the 9th and the 10th and just was a bit unlucky not to carry a strike.
Well, he could have struck on both of them. It was in the pocket. He's got to make this spare to keep any chance that he has of winning. And he does.
Have to be impressed with McDowell's performance, really, Mike. He has just been solid since the 5th frame. Ended up with a 4-bagger, strikes 5, 6, 7, and 8, and then a couple of 10s in the 9th and the 10th, or he really could have been in the driver's seat.
And that solid 9 he left back in the 3rd frame. Well, right now he'd be in the lead if he carried that. The count is still important.
If he strikes on the field ball, it's 215.
Just more relaxed on that one.
Gets himself a little clap on his own and says, well, it was the first time I've ever bowled for a PBA title, and I think I represented myself pretty well.
And Eagle throwing the most important ball he's thrown in the last 2 years right now.
And I think he knows it. And as Billy Whaler used to say, that was Daddy Lockups.
It's not over yet. I mean, even though it is, but it isn't. He's only got 209 right now until he throws another ball.
Has to stay behind the foul line as he went over and gave Mark McDowell a hug. As you see the graphic there, needs 7 pins to win his 3rd PBA title, $18,000, and a trip back to the Firestone Tournament of Champions.
That'll do it right there.
All week long, he has been Mr. Clutch in the 10th frame, and he responds one more time. Dale Eagle climbing the ladder as his wife is, I guess as excited as she's ever been in her life, climbs the ladder all the way to the title match and captures the $120,000 Ebonite Firebolt Open. final score, 228-215. Back with a winner right after this. His left is Bill Supper, Vice President, Sales for Ebonite. And obviously, he will offer the Tiki Trophy. And to his right, Mac Lowry, the General Manager at Leilani Lanes. And there's the check for $18,000, 228 to 215. That'll do it all from Leilani Lanes as Dale Eagle gives it the Eagle call and PBA title number 3. Tonight's telecast has been brought to you by Dickies. They're America's favorite work clothes. But who says you have to work in them? By the more you've got to do, the more you need True Value Hardware stores. We've got what it takes. By Shell Oil Company. Get ready, America. Get ready for the 4th at your neighborhood station.
The 100.